What's up, friends? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Welcome to another reading wrap-up and the final reading wrap-up of 2025. December was a banger of the month for me. I ended the year so strong. I read 25 books and so many of them were thrillers, but not only were so many of them thrillers, so many of them were such good thrillers. I'm like thriving on this right now. So here's the stack. It's huge. It's gonna topple over on me. Let's get right into it. I'll tell you about each one of these and what I thought of them. Starting straight from the top, I should probably move this over. I received and read an ARC copy of The Storm by Rachel Hawkins. Loved this book. This is my favorite of hers so far, and I've read them all. This was just such a well-told, well-crafted, and well-developed story. It was so immersive. The setting was perfection, and I loved it. It takes place in a small town where many years ago there was this big scandal with this rich politician whose body was found after a huge hurricane. And his murder was borderline blamed on the storm, but also his mistress at the time, who was less than half his age, ended up on trial for it as well. She got off, and years later she comes back to the town with a reporter so that she can finally write like her tell-all story. This did a perfect job of blending that close-knit small town feel with like the glitz and glamour of a huge scandal. I just loved the way this was done. It was just so good. I highly recommend this one when it comes out. Then I read Break Him by Nicki Grace. This one is available on Kindle Unlimited, but after I read it, I had to get a physical copy because this is just my type of book. This was so fun and diabolical. It's about a woman who finds out that her husband has plans to leave her, but also screw her over big time in the process. And so she starts laying her own plans into place while still playing the part of like the good, clueless wife. And she plays the role so well. It's such a diabolical book. I loved this, and it's a really fast read. There's a lot of books here, guys, so I'm going to try to fly through these so we don't have like a 30-40 minute video because that's just a lot. That's a lot of talking, that's a lot of watching, that's a lot of editing. I read the Grady Lake series by J.L. Hyde. Newly discovered this author, absolutely love her, and will be continuing to devour her backlist. Grady Lake is the first book, and then there's two other ones that come after, but they're all very short, so you could fly through them. This is about a woman who returns to her hometown of Grady Lake 20 years after her sister went missing and was never found. When another teenage girl goes missing at the resort, it opens up an entire can of worms. This is just small town mystery feels. The character development in this was so good. Like, each character was so well done in my opinion, and I love the way this author describes and writes her characters. They're so real and relatable. I just really enjoyed this whole series. It was very good. 25 Days by Per Jacobsen is a horror Christmas story, and it's meant to be read like an advent calendar. It has 25 chapters. You can read one chapter a day, and it's just a really like a wild and crazy story. It's about a family who's kind of on the rocks with each other, and so they plan this like wintry getaway at this very secluded cabin where they're gonna go and spend a few days. There's no one around for miles, but each day they notice that someone is hanging a Christmas stocking out on the barn door, and each day there's something in it, and it gets more and more suspicious. This story takes an incredibly intense turn and gets very like brutal, we'll say, but it was a fun time overall. I enjoyed it. Girl Dinner by Olivie Blake, I have to say, is the one book this month that I really just didn't enjoy very much. It started out very strong, but then it lost me. It follows two different women. One where you have a mother who she's just barely getting back into her own life after having a baby. She's getting ready to go back to work at a college. And the second point of view is a young girl trying to get into a sorority at that same college. It had a good premise. It just really started to like lose me in the middle, and I started getting more and more bored, especially because it started out so strong. I kept persisting, and then at the very end it just like ended super abruptly and ended up just turning me off like for good. So unfortunately this one wasn't for me. The Devil and Mrs. Davenport by Paulette Kennedy. This was a fantastic book. oh my goodness. This was just such a well done blend of genres, and I've honestly never read anything like it. I loved this. It's got like an old school vibe setting, and it follows a woman who's married to a man who's a professor at a Bible college. But when this wife starts having these random psychological visions of things, she becomes like concerned that she's developing some strange gift, but the husband swears that it's of the devil and forbids her to like cultivate it or pay attention to it or really give it any attention at all. This was all around very unique, such a well told story. The characters were done so good and I just loved it. I read 2 more books by Seraphina Nova Glass. I've been working on her backlist and I just love her books. I would say that The Vacancy in Room 10 was my lesser favorite of the bunch that I've read so far, although it was still a good book, and The Vanishing Hour was top tier. This is probably one of my favorites of hers. In The Vanishing Hour, you have 3 separate people. You have a woman whose daughter is missing and there are no leads. Then you have a man who discovers that his father has gone missing and nobody has seen or heard from him. And then there's another woman in the same town who is traumatized from when she was kidnapped as a kid and escaped. This book did a fantastic job of keeping me guessing until the very end, especially in each one of these 3 people's stories. Like, each one had questions and mysteries and secrets that were not revealed until the last second, and it just did a really good job of bringing everything together. This was so good. Then I read 2 books by Dervla McTiernan, and I also just recently discovered her and can't wait to read more of her books. The Murder Rule was super interesting. This one is about a girl who manages to make her way into this program at a college where these students are working with inmates to try to find innocent inmates and help clear their name. And she gets into this program playing the role of wanting to help do some good in the world, when really her motive is that there's one very specific man in that jail that she wants to make sure remains behind bars. This one was a banger, no notes. What Happened to Nina was also equally just as good. Like, I loved this book. I thought this was so good. It's about a boyfriend and a girlfriend who go out on a hiking trip, but only the boyfriend comes home. His girlfriend is nowhere to be found and nobody can get in contact with her. He says that they got into a fight, they broke up, and he came home without her. But what really happened to Nina? And this story was just so well done. I'm telling you guys, I read so many good thrillers this month. I was binging them in the beginning of the month, just back to back. So the next one that I have is The Bridesmaid by Cate Quinn. This one wasn't as good as the others, but it was still an enjoyable story. It's about a celebrity woman who's preparing for her wedding when one of her bridesmaids turns up murdered. They call in a forensic attorney as a replacement bridesmaid so that she can like investigate from the inside. It was a pretty good story. I feel like it did a good job at keeping me guessing until the very end. I will say though that it was kind of a chunky book and I felt that while reading it. The next Mrs. Wimberly by Monica Arya. This is the same author as The Favorite Girl. If you've read that book and liked it, you'll enjoy this one too. It was similarly, why can't I say that word? It was similarly unhinged. This is about a really young girl named Brooke who meets a surgeon who's very successful and twice her age, and they end up getting married, and supposedly she's living like this really fancy life. But this surgeon has some serious secrets under his belt, and his first wife died a mysterious death. So this is a very disturbingly sinister, like secrets uncovered style of book. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. I did feel like the ending of this one was very long though. All Her Little Lies by Becca. This one was so much fun and it's a short, quick read. It follows a woman and she happens to be the first person to stumble across the dead body of her son's girlfriend. And thinking that her son might be responsible for the murder, she cleans up the body and the crime scene. But it wasn't the son's fault. And now she's realizing that she cleaned up some other person's crime scene. The story is just so very messy. I read Spellcaster by Jaymin Eve, and I have to say, when I was reading this book, I remember really enjoying it. On the back, I always put a little sticky note, and I said that the magic system was very easy to understand, and I felt like the book was the perfect length. It was enjoyable, even though slightly predictable, and overall I gave it 3.75 stars, but I don't remember what this book is about at all. And honestly, I read a lot of books. Sometimes that happens. The point is that I had a good time while reading it, and that's all that matters to me. So there we go. The Dying Place by Charlie Cox. This is the 5th book, I believe, in this series, and I'm obsessed with this series. I absolutely love it. If you're interested, the very first book is called All His Pretty Girls, and it is a detective murder mystery series that has some of the best twists I've ever read. Looks Real Good Now by Sophie Thomas. I did have to squeeze in one wintry, Christmassy romance, and this was super sweet and super spicy. I really enjoyed it. It's about two childhood best friends who have not spoken in years, but they meet up again at the airport in their adult years as they're both traveling home to spend Christmas with their family, and they agree to a fake dating situation and they go back home to this visit together. This was a really fun book from an indie author. I definitely recommend it. Here's 3 books that are very specific book recs. So we have When She Woke by Hilary Jordan. This is a dystopian book where in this world, people that commit crimes no longer go to jail, but instead they get their skin color genetically altered to reflect the crime that they committed. In the story, we follow Hannah, who has red skin, and that signifies murder. If you liked The Handmaid's Tale, you will like this book. It had very similar vibes, and this whole story was a very, pleasant surprise and just very well done. The Burial Tide by Neil Sharpson. Burial. The burial. That is the weirdest word. That is the weirdest word. This book was very unique. I didn't love it. I wouldn't say I really loved it, but it was so unique, you have to give credit to the uniqueness of the storyline. It's about a woman. It starts off with a woman who wakes up buried alive, and she has to dig her way out of her own grave. Come to find out that they buried her because she got sick and died from an epidemic that swept their little island. Several people got really sick. She was one of them. They buried her, but somehow she's still alive. It did have a little bit of a tricky plot. There were a lot of characters and different people to keep up with. However, the chapters were short, and I felt like the vibe was perfectly mysterious and eerie, so it did a good job. I just really thought that this was very unique. Then we have Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This one was deeply atmospheric, and it had a very unique type of body horror. It's more of a YA horror. It deals with 2 boys that are still in school. They're pretty young. But basically, the crazy, unique drawings that they're drawing are coming to life in the forest. This book was very heavy on the emotion of the characters and the connections that they had with one another. That's why I say it's a very specific type of book rec, but overall very unique, and I enjoyed it. The Haunting of Paynes Hollow by Kelley Armstrong. I really enjoyed this one too. It's about a woman whose grandfather has passed away, and he leaves her his cabin or whatever and his land, but under the circumstance that she goes and stays there for a certain amount of time without leaving. There she has to face the childhood trauma that she's been avoiding for years, which is the fact that she witnessed her father burying a body, but the other members of the family swore the father was innocent and that she doesn't know what she was seeing. This is a shorter book. It grabbed me from the beginning and I really enjoyed the entire thing. She Didn't See It Coming by Shari Lapena. This is her best book so far. It's a pretty straightforward plot about a mom who didn't go pick up her child at daycare when she was supposed to, and nobody knows where she is, nobody's heard from her, and everyone in the building is freaking out. Honestly, that's all you need to know about this one. I love a good Shari Lapena book, and like I said, this is her best one so far, definitely my favorite. A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a really good wintry thriller. It's about a woman who's going to meet her fiance's family for the first time. So they go to his family-owned isolated winter retreat, and inside one of the cabins, she finds a picture of herself as a baby. The one thing I will say about this book is that I loved the plot, but I hated the characters. And the last one that I have is What Happens in the Dark by Kia Abdullah. I will always and forever recommend this author. She's one of my favorite, and if you like courtroom style of thrillers, you 100% have to give her books a try. I really just don't think you'll be disappointed. This one follows 2 separate women who were best friends growing up, but they no longer speak as adults. One is a TV star and one is a journalist, and the TV star starts showing up with these suspicious bruises on her body, and the journalist wants to reach out so she could do a story on her and get to the bottom of what's going on with her and her husband. But when the body of the husband turns up, now we're taking this whole story to court. Kia Abdullah just does a fantastic job of building up her characters before her books go to the court scene, and so you're already extremely invested in forming your own opinions before you get to the court scenes. I just love her so much. This book was awesome. And that, my friends, is the 25 books that I read in the month of December. I finished this year out so strong, and I just loved so much of what I read this year. I'm excited for 2026, new goals, new books, new authors, new releases, new everything. And so I just want to say thank you all so much for being here and for watching and for supporting the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.